while I'll introduce both of us. Both Alex and I are part of the go-to-market team at Batch. Alex is part of the team of the solutions engineering team working with our clients and prospects to show how Batch can fit their needs, and I'm managing the team. And I mean, obviously, before we start, we're using Livestorm today. Feel free to ask questions using the chat. We will share maybe a few surveys as we go through the content. We will send the replay and the links afterwards. Let us know if you, obviously you can email us afterwards as well if you have any questions or want to schedule a demo. And if this is clear, onto the agenda. As I said, we're doing this benchmark for the third year in a row. And what we want to, we will go over 5 trends today. One around opt-in rates that are dropping. Second, in-app messages. 3, segmentation, orchestration, how to make sure your messages are contextualized. And then timing, best days and time of the days, as well as composition, message composition, do's and don't. That's our plan for today. We'll be quick so that we're not too late. Very quick intro about Batch to begin with. Batch is a customer engagement platform designed for CRM and marketing teams who want to be faster, more creative, more autonomous from their IT teams. So you'll see that that's what we work on when developing the product, making sure CRM teams using Batch have an extremely efficient experience and they're able to experiment, launch scenarios fast. Batch is probably, as you can hear, a French company created 10 years ago. We're about 100 people between Paris, Berlin, Lyon, and Lille. We have more than 400 clients in 15 countries. And what's interesting for the purpose of benchmarks is that we work with clients and companies in all industries, e-commerce, retail, but media as well. So some of the insights we're going to share today is going to be industry focused, and also all sizes. So we work with clients that want smaller clients, smaller audience, as well as extremely large audience like Sky or Bing Sport, BetClick as well, gaming. So that's why we want to work and produce benchmarks, because we have this very strong overview. And quickly as well, Batch, there's 4 pillars to our product. The first one being a data platform, which we'll discuss maybe more when we discuss segmentation and orchestration. Second one being an interface when you can efficiently create campaigns as well as journeys to activate your audience. Third product pillar is delivery. We will deliver messages across all channels, and obviously give teams as well as chief marketing officers an opportunity to monitor CRM performances using monitoring interfaces, as well as inline or in-journey insights, which Alex will show a bit later. About the benchmark, and please stop me if you have any question or something is unclear to you. About the study that we're going to dig into, we've analyzed over the last 12 months 800 billion messages, mainly mobile focused. So Batch works with clients on all channels, email, text messages, WhatsApp, RCS, but the focus of this benchmark is specifically mobile channels, so mobile push, in-app messages, web push notifications. As part of this study, more than 1.2 billion visitors have been scanned, their behavior reacting to messages, their behavior reacting to in-app messages, as well as more than 10,000 apps on both iOS and Android. So that's we believe that it's a pretty solid ecosystem environment to analyze, and that's why we're doing it for the 3rd time in a row. I'll dig into the trends now. Let me know if you have any question. I see something, just 1 second to look at the chat. Thanks. The first trend that is super clear and I guess very expected for you is that for the third year, for the second year in a row, we see opt-in rates dropping. So meaning that the proportion, the number of users that are accepting to receive notifications is decreasing and decreasing as time goes by, which forces you guys, CRM teams, to be quite smart about how they obtain consent from their users, and that's what we're going to look into. First, why do we see this trend? On iOS, there's always been an explicit opt-in, so users are not by default opted in. So rates have always been lower than on Android, between 55% to 60%. So it's dropping, but it's not a drastic change. iOS engagement teams have always implemented smart strategies to make sure they obtain consent from the users to be able to address them. However, on Android, there used to be by default consent, and in the last 2 years, Android changed that with Android 13, and there is now explicit content. So that's been a drastic change for Android app engagement teams. We still see, interesting to note, we still see a higher opt-in rate on Android than on iOS, 10 percentage points. Just quick reminder of how the opt-in works. I'm going to be super fast. And what we're going to look into, maybe let's switch to the next slide. What we're going to look into in terms of best practices is how to use your onboarding scenario as a lever for collecting opt-in, because the first moments of after downloading an app is a key moment that you can use to gain consent from new users. And what we're going to show, what we advise most of our clients, that it's absolutely crucial to protect the system opt-in prompt to make sure that it's embedded into the experience. Most of you see what the system opt-in prompt looks like. It's on the right of the screen here. This should happen after an in-app message explaining what's going to happen to your user, so that you get the best performance. That's for one, and Alex will show that in a minute. Something that is also a strong driver of better opt-in rates is a thematic opt-in. So if you're from a media company, obviously this is going to sound extremely basic to you, because media companies have always implemented thematic opt-ins, like if you're interested in economics or geopolitics or society, whatever. However, we do see thematic opt-in as a very strong lever to drive better opt-in rates in e-commerce and retail, as well as service as well, to boost user retention, and obviously to gain deeper customer insight, which we can then use to better segment and orchestrate your scenarios. Maybe we can look at what it looks like in our interface. Obviously, let us know if you have any question as Alex switches over to the demo and I take a sip of coffee.
Yes, so hi again, everyone. What we'll do for this webinar is that for each theme, we will start with the market context. Clotilde already did that. Explain the challenge, and then show you how Batch solves it in the product. And to make sure there's food for everyone, we'll show different use cases, different Batch customers, and different industries for every theme, and tie every scenario to concrete business outcomes like engagement, retention, revenue, and so on. And so for this first use case, this will be based on one of our media customers called Le Point, a French leading media. And we'll showcase an onboarding journey with a subscription offer. So, as you know, user engagement starts the moment someone downloads the app. It's a crucial moment to make benefits clear upfront when the user just subscribed, and the goal here of this journey is to convert new users into subscribers early in their life cycle, so before churn risk rises, and educate them on the premium benefits so they clearly understand the value exchange. So what we have done here with this user journey you see on the screen, that was built in our automation builder, which is basically the interface that allows you to create multi-steps and cross-channel journeys, is that we'll start this journey when the user validates his registration. So when they create an account, they will enter this journey, and we'll wait the morning after that at 9 a.m. to send them a first push notification, inviting the user to start the day with the Le Point routine and the essential morning updates. And so here, to give additional context to this simple push notification, we also have attached to it what we call a mobile landing. So a mobile landing is an in-app message that is tied to the push notification and displayed within the app after the user clicks on the push, and that is created 100% with our in-app composer in drag and drop. Show you a quick example. You can add components like this in drag and drop, change the settings, and even add some text. Let's me up at this, like on bold and on emphasizing. And obviously the idea here is to give some more context on our message, and showcase the benefits of the premium subscription. And now if we move on a bit in this user journey, we'll wait for a few days. If the user subscribes in the meantime, we'll just make him exit the user journey, and if not, we'll now jump between send either an app push or a web push, depending on where the user is the most reachable or is reachable at all. So by this split, to basically segment your users based on opt-in, and this will also allow us to track and measure the conversion rates between the two different mobile channels, so the app push channel and the web push channel. So that was it for the first example. Now let's quickly move on with the rest of
the second trend.
challenges.
So as part of this, the benchmark that we produced, second trend that we're seeing is that is about in-app messages being an excellent engagement driver. So quick update about in-app messages. I was actually speaking to Lucy, our CSM lead, this morning, who was actually telling me that most of our clients today think about in-app messages as a specific channel, different from push notification. Like they specifically have an in-app message strategy, which makes a lot of sense because it's a channel that is embedded within your app, and with which you can reach 100% of your active users, mobile active users. It's going to be the in-app message that you're working on is going to be displayed, or is going to be able to be displayed, to your entire mobile audience. You don't need explicit consent to receive an in-app message. That's for one. Many formats exist. As you can see, the format that has the best performance is the pop-up format. And second best one is for Android, the full screen, and for iOS, the banner. So interesting. Obviously, we have this info by industry, so if you're interested in it, please let us know. And in terms of use cases, and I think, Alex, we will use that for the demo, in-app messages work extremely well for coupons, so conversion scenarios, especially because when Alex just showed how you compose an in-app message, how you create an in-app message format using Batch, you can have action buttons. Action buttons can be copy-pasting the coupon code, for instance, which you can then use directly to buy something from your app. So this is a use case that works extremely well. Second best use case is, and interestingly, the re-opt-in use case. So using in-app messages to prompt your users to opt in to mobile push notifications, so that you can then address your user when he's outside the app with notifications. That's it for in-app trends. Let's move over to the demo.
Yeah. Okay, so for this second theme, the second example, we'll talk of the in-app channel itself as a standalone channel, and we'll take the our SNCF customer, which is the France's national railway company, as an example. So we will now jump into the mobility industry. So again, as you know, with the privacy first OS policies, opt-in is no longer a one-time opportunity. Users can change their preferences anytime. So it's super important for brands to create in-app experience that re-educates and re-asks for permissions later on in the customer lifecycle. And so we will highlight this with re-opt-in automation, in-app automation, that will be triggered at several places in the app. So in that case, we have selected the visited page events and selected a few screens where we want this future modal to appear. And obviously, it's important to only target the customers that are not opt-in to push notifications. And this is a super strategic lever of that channel, is that you can reach 100% of your user base, even those who are opt-out. And so when these opt-out users arrive after they booked the tickets, or maybe simply when they are following one of their future trips, we will display them this modal, which was built again with the in-app composer that I just showed in the first use case, and that will allow that will highlight the benefits for the user to subscribe, maybe subscribe again, or subscribe for the first time to push notifications, and to make sure that in the end you boost your opt-in rates on both iOS and Androids. And you can even attach some custom actions to the buttons that you use inside your in-app messages, for example, to directly trigger the opt-in prompt within the app, or maybe to reschedule a later in-app campaign in the future for those who don't opt in yet. And now back to the third trend.
Third super clear trend that we're seeing again for the third year in a row is the performance, the performance that are much better on contextualized scenarios, contextualized push notification. So when we say contextualized, what we want to say is that mobile journeys that are triggered by user events perform much better than full base scenarios. So that's super clear trend that we're seeing. And here we're going to look at a breakdown per industry, because we see that it's extremely clear for all industries. You see that contextualized push notifications perform much better in terms of engagement across all industries. And you see that depending on industries, either 2024 was a bit better than 2025, or it's in line for services, for instance, but performance are at least 4 times higher for contextualized push notification. What's interesting to mention is that when we think about triggering journeys based on user actions, we usually think of logged in users that are known, that have an email, that have an account with your company. Looking at app and mobile engagements more generally, most users are not logged in. Depending on apps, obviously, the proportion is higher for service, but for media companies, logged in users can be something like only 5% of the traffic, and even e-commerce or retail companies, it's seldom higher than 30%. So what's extremely important here in terms of best practices is using platforms that allow you to trigger scenarios based on anonymous user events. It's not only because a user is anonymous on your app doesn't mean you cannot track what they're doing in terms of page views, in terms of any actions like add to favorites actions, and then trigger scenarios based on that. So that's something that we're really pushing at Batch. And even if it's a user that and that they're eventually going to log in at some point, it's important to be able to track all the events that they've done. I mean, what their behavior has been before they logged in, so that you can retarget based on that, based on page views, based on carts, ads, or stuff like that. We're going to show that using the interface now, how to trigger contextualized scenarios easily based on user events.
Yeah. So for this third trend, ending full-base campaigns, we'll now highlight a use case in the third industry, which is the retail industry, inspired by one of our customers, La Redoute, which is a French retailer in the fashion and home. And so, as Clotilde just introduced it, Batch is designed to move way beyond the full-base targeting and precisely tailor the target audience for your campaigns. And for that, we'll look at an exclusive private sales, a campaign for loyal customers. So what you see here on the screen is the targeting engine. It's what allows you to, again, segment your user base and tell your audience to your message. And here, to make sure that we are only addressing high-value customers, we will combine some attribute targeting. So attributes are who the user is, some events targeting, so what the user does, along with some retargeting. So as you can see here on the screen, we will target all the customers that did at least 3 purchases in the last 6 months, and where these purchases had a minimum amount of 200 euros. And obviously, if this was, for example, a specific sale for the home category, we could even add an additional filter and add some categories in the list here of our event targeting. This is obviously entirely up to you. We then have added some additional conditions on the loyalty points of the users or on his order counts to make sure we really target the most engaged and VIP customers. And finally, we also added some retargeting here. So retargeting is a native feature of Batch that allows you to retarget users based on their past interactions with the message that was sent from the platform, whatever channel it is, so app push, web push, in-app, and so on. And so for this specific campaign, we will exclude users that have opened a specific message of another user journey where we already highlight this private sale. And last thing here is that the targeting is always calculated in real time with Batch, and basically any data that comes in or goes out of the platform is evaluated in real time. And this also allows you to, before sending your message, know how many users you will reach per OS, so per platform. And this estimated reach is obviously updated in real time, meaning that if I add or if I remove a condition, the reach will update accordingly. Now back to the fourth trend.
Fourth trend, about the best performing days of the week and time of the day. Let's look at what the data shows. What we see is that, so that's a question that we always get from our clients, like when should I send, when's the best day to send my push notifications, obviously. What we see is that beginning of the week has always performed better, and we see that again. I mean, no, has performed better in 24 and 25. So Monday becomes the best day of the week to send campaigns this year. We see clear improving trends towards Friday. So Friday is clearly improving, and we also see that the weekends remains the worst time to send push notifications. So you should avoid weekends. And then times of the day, what you can see is that the end of the day is performing better, like 5 to 7 p.m. The morning is performing well as well. And then you can see several peaks throughout the day, so 8 and 2 p.m. for instance. So honestly, we don't see a super clear trend here, except that the night should be avoided. And that's interesting because when you think about when you should send notification, it's a question that you can ask for one-off campaign. Like you're sending one campaign, obviously you're going to think of the time, the best day and the best time, but it's also something that you wanna control when you have like multi-step scenarios triggered by a user action. For instance, if you want to trigger welcome scenarios based on when the user downloaded the app, the user has downloaded the app, said they downloaded the app at 9 p.m., then you need to be extra cautious to not trigger all your push notification, your welcome push notification, say 1 hour after download and then one day after, because the push notification will arrive at 10 p.m. for like 7 days, which is not a good timing to send notifications. So this is something that has been complicated for our clients, and that's why at Batch in our automation builder, so our journey interface, we allow our clients to set quiet times as well as quiet days to make sure that even if you have like a super long multi-step scenarios using several channels, you make sure that you can always avoid, say, Saturdays and Sundays, as well as night hours, for instance. And cool question about the best time to send in-app messages. My next slide is about the times when users are most active on the app. And this, you can see, is mainly between 5 to 8 p.m., which means that most users don't have kids, probably. This is very weird. Anyways, this is so. But the question, the issue with in-app, the matter is less pressing for in-app messages because it's going to be displayed anyway, depending on when the either you want to trigger the in-app message when as soon as possible when the user opens the app, then it's going to be displayed anyway. So it's less pressing for in-app messages. But what's interesting is when are users actually using their applications, not at nighttime, mainly throughout the day, just before lunchtime, and then after work, basically. You want to show how we
let's
schedule
go.
timing? We use time schedules in Batch.
Very quick. So yeah, for this fourth trend for theme, as Clotilde said, timing can make but also break engagement. So we offer multiple strategies to schedule your push notifications and your messages overall. The first one for classic campaigns is simply to first of all schedule a message on the profile's local time. Obviously, if you send some breaking news, also some important info, you would want to address it in the universal time. But otherwise, it's always nice to make sure that if you want to send a push on 6 p.m., for example, it's 6 p.m. on the local time, because if your user is traveling or if you just have a multi-country user base, you always have to respect these timings. And then Clotilde talked about the quiet times and the quiet days features. And this is especially important in user journeys and for pushy channels like the push channel, which can be quite intrusive if they are sent during the nighttime, for example, or the weekend. So that's why within user journeys where you don't always control exactly the timing because you wait a few hours after a specific action or a specific step, we allow you to include quiet hours or quiet days, which are basically moments when we will exclude the sending of messages and maybe just skip them or wait to the next available time. Again, if you want to make sure you don't send any message during the weekend and during the night. And finally, still in the user journeys, so in this automation builder, we've seen that a bit you can schedule very precisely your message, first of all, according to delays, as we said. So, for example, 30 minutes, according to manual inputs. So if your communication is about, for example, a football match, maybe it's best to send this message at the night or a few hours before the match will start. So again, tailoring the scheduling on your contents. And finally, another pretty handy feature is that if you have a specific date that is tied to your scenario, in that case, for this retail use case, when a promotion will end, it's also pretty used by our mobility customers like SNCF, sending reminders before a travel, before a journey, or um, um, some surveys after. And this allows you to take this date and schedule your message according, yeah, like a few hours or a few days before the specific end date. And once you've set all that up, and again, this is something Clotilde mentioned at the start, so we include some advanced analytics directly within the automation builder so that you can analyze the open rates, the different sendings, and all the metrics related to your messages in the interface. And in the case where, like here, we did some A/B testing, um, which we didn't really talk about today, but is another uh, um, um, great use of the marketers. Well, you can compare the different engagement rates between different hours of the day, and then take conclusions and optimize your scenarios like that. So this is what is displayed here. And yeah, and maybe to finish on that before the last trends, we also are actively working on a new feature, which is an intelligent timing feature that will automatically, based on the past behaviors we tracked on the platform, um, choose on the user level the best time to send a message. This will be available at the very start of 2026, and I hope I was allowed to announce that because it wasn't announced yet.
To wrap up the webinar, just not specifically a trend, but something that we're very cautious about with our clients at Batch, which are the do's and don'ts of mobile push notifications wording. It's something it's obviously some content that's been prepared by our customer success team based on how push notifications perform in terms of composition. This is something that we can share, obviously, but beyond segmentation, beyond days, time of the day, etc. What matters a lot to make sure that your mobile engagement strategies is successful is the content that you're actually sharing. And we do see notifications perform much worse when there's like too many emojis or super promotional titles, capital letters all the way, or on the opposite side of the spectrum, like very neutral words, like a title, looking like a title before the content, negative phrasing, or very long sentences. However, what drives engagement are targeted emojis, using emotional storytelling, urgency, like trying to capture attention directly, often with immediate value, or action verbs, and obviously short and clear content. So we do keep some benchmark about that, like what's a good wording, what good wording looks like, what bad wording looks like. So this is something that that matters a lot beyond just segmentation and all the things that we've discussed before. So we wanted to share that as the last trend of this webinar. Please let us know if you have any question. Are we showing a demo for that?
We can.
Okay,
Well, I guess we have 30 minutes left. I'll show you one last example for this closing trend of today's webinar. We talked about timing, the scheduling, but even the best timing fails if the message itself doesn't resonate. And this is why we are giving some guidance within directly the composition interfaces. For example, for push notifications and for each OS that you will reach, we indicate you how many characters you should ideally have within your message. So what's the recommendation to make sure that the title, for example, doesn't get cropped by the OS and that the customer can see the full message without being overwhelmed. And if you feel like adding some dynamic personalization, let's say with a first name variable, we also display the preview on these dynamic fields. So if you choose any user profile in your user base, you will see how the message will display for this given user. Do we have a last slide to close it up?
I think we have
Q&A
Q&A slides. In case if you have any questions, please feel free to use the questions interface or the chat. If you right now, obviously, both Alex and I, and mostly our customer success team, will be available after that to answer any questions you may have. You can just send your questions to us if they arise later. And otherwise, thanks. I guess we'll say thank you very much for participating in this webinar. Obviously, we take feedback if you have any. And thank you again very much for your time and attention this morning. Have a great day. I'm going to end the event now. Thank you.
Thank you guys for your attention and have a great day. See you soon. Bye.